be the proud owner of the next big guerrilla games in the Netherlands? Ah, excellent. Okay. Well, you came to the right place. Just quickly, my name is JP from Seventer, from the Dutch Game Garden. Have any of you been to this building before? Good. 5 stories of fun and games, 45 companies, of which 15 have started right out of school, just like you guys. Who is graduating after this year? Ah, okay, so some of you here, or many of you actually, are kind of early, probably 2nd, 3rd year. Yeah? So you have a little time to think about it. Well, this is the building, one of the sheets here with the companies. Some of these are companies that have been around for 10 years, some of these have started in the last 3 years. We can help them, facilitate them, and I'll tell you a little bit about what we do with that. I've been working in this company for 5 years. Before that I worked in the game industry, was co-founder of W Games, which is now known as Vanguard Studios. And I started my games career a long time ago building Red Cat for Davidex. Yes, thank you. So at least you know that game. How many of you played that actually? This is almost emotional. Did you enjoy it or was it? Yeah? Amsterdam? Yeah. Yes? I worked levels for Amsterdam. First person shooter in the Netherlands. Don't mention it to the guys from Guerrilla, but it's true. And I got into the industry in '98. Out of school, I did Design Academy in Eindhoven. We didn't have a game design degree yet in '98. And I got into 3D modeling and I got into the game industry. Davidex, interesting company, worked there for 4 years and it went bankrupt. And it really fascinated me why that is. And I started thinking about what happens in games companies and who is the boss and who's running it and what do the teams look like. So I divide teams up in 4 different categories, roughly. We always need most programmers and most artists. They're the lungs of the company. They really provide most of the work. The game designers are somewhere in the middle, and of course some people do game design and art or and programming, but I'm just saying the tasks should be centered in the team. And business administration really is everything that has to do with internal management and with external business and selling the game. So it's internally focused and externally focused. Now, this is typical of the companies that come into our building is that we have lots of people who are from, like, say, the HKU. The teams that come in with and want to start a company, they kind of look like this. They're kind of balanced towards art, design. Sometimes there's a program in the team. Sometimes they are more like a scripting programmer, and if you're lucky, they can actually really code very well. In business, it's usually not a big skill. Then tech school startups from the University of Utrecht, for example. The teams may look like this. This is a bit exaggerated, but this is kind of what happens. And it sometimes shows in the graphics, so they need to start teaming up quickly with art students. This is also a scary idea. A business school with only business people and having no idea how to build a game. Now all these 3 are warped. All these 3 companies are not perfect. This is perfect, but of course this world isn't perfect and no company starts perfect. But it helps to know what is the weakness of your group and the strength of your group. And if you recognize any of these profiles, if you're already talking about a couple of friends, a team, there's a few people missing yet? Are you guys complete? Yeah, audio. Audio I've included in the arts. I've kind of simplified that for the arts. Most teams that start with 3 people don't have a full-time audio person, but it's a good point. It usually is done with an external person, when it's a small studio. Or sometimes an artist will double as a musician or a programmer. This is roughly what happens at the Dutch Game Garden. This is what we have. Most companies that have started and did their first years with us come from art school background. We have about 15% with a more technical background, and we have only 5% that start from a business perspective. This is one of the first things that we try and get through to new startups. It's very easy to focus on your game. Usually that's what school teaches you, is build games. If you go to a game development program, whether it's from an art program, art angle, design angle, or programming, it's always about building a game. And really, it's often the game that they want to make, teams that come to us, and they forget that they have to build a company. And so it's really important that if you're thinking about building a company, then one of you, or at least a couple of you, have to really think about, okay, what does it mean to build a company rather than just build a good game? Something about CEOs. Now, let's say the CEO is the boss. Now, a lot of teams that we have, there's no one boss. But say, where does the person that manages the team and organizes stuff, where do they come from? If you look at games companies in the Netherlands and in worldwide today, there's roughly 2 CEOs. One is the kind that came up through one of the disciplines, so a former programmer or a former artist or designer who started focusing on business, and when a team grows from 4 to 30 people, then maybe there's one person who stops designing and stops doing art and has to start focusing on business administration. This happens a lot to companies in the Netherlands. We have a lot of companies that have somebody who's running the show from this angle. The other extreme is somebody who comes from the outside with a business degree, doesn't really know how to program, doesn't know how to do art, doesn't know how to do game design, but they love building a company. They love doing the process of business. They love selling stuff. They love making money. Maybe that's for them a bigger drive than some of the indies that I work with. It's good to know both are good, but this is what happens. If you look at the growth of the company, typically, if you see a company that becomes really big, it's managed by people with that kind of a background of business, who love to expand things. If you look at Guerrilla Games, that's almost 200 people now. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of work. And it has a lot of work there that has nothing to do with actually building games. It has to do with managing people, getting stuff organized. You have to want that. If that's what you want, you have to start thinking about who's going to be running the games company. You have to start thinking about that now. So if I saw a few hands, you have to start thinking about, is there a person in my circumference, or maybe it's you yourself, who loves business and who loves to expand stuff and grow and do that part and forget about the creative part, then that's good. That's what you need. Code is also a wonderful company in Rotterdam. It's been around for a long time. Very high quality stuff, very professional. But the guys running it are also the programmers. They just don't want to grow big. They're like 8, 9 people. That's also good. That's perfect. As long as if that's what you want, that's good. But just make it a conscious decision. Another thing, how much do you guys make? Do you guys make about 600-700 euros a month to live off? Roughly? 800? 500? 300? Whatever that is, that's your green little box there. And your life is probably just balanced. You're probably just making it, right? You're spending as much money as you get. Maybe you're borrowing a lot, but I haven't put that in this equation. Now, life doesn't stay this way. So when you're starting a games company, a lot of companies are building hard, about average, people are average 24, 25. They're still used to living this way. But you know, when you get a girlfriend, which may happen to some of you guys, then your expenses go up. Trust me, I'm a little bit beyond this. And you're still in student housing, but you know, hey, guys, no, girls are expensive. Second girlfriend, apartment, and the first vacation. Your expenses go up. Oh, wow, a wife, first kid, car, and vacations. That's roughly where I am. I actually have 2 kids. So I'm kind of stuck here. This is wife, 3 kids, 2-story house, station wagon, insurances, vacations, babysitters, and a dog. Well, we don't have a dog, but it's kind of a point here. Life gets more expensive. So when you actually are thinking about building a company, you also have to take this curve into a corporation. So really, it's about building a company, not about building a great game. Because a good games company builds great games with an S. So there's just a few things that I want to give to you now, that once you're thinking about your 2nd, 3rd, 4th year, also think about your team. Think about who you're wrapping around, who's gathering around your group. And if you don't like managing stuff, if you really don't want the business, then why don't you go to another school and find somebody who likes to do that stuff. So that's something to think about. What does the Dutch Game Garden do? We have an incubation program. That means you become part of a small family of companies in the building. What we have is a crash course of entrepreneurship where we teach a whole set of skills that are usually not taught at school, and there's some stuff that you generally don't know yet when you leave school. Another really powerful thing is the peer review cycle. We have a monthly meeting where companies like Flambeer or Ronimo Games, they share their secrets. And they share even more than they share from the podium here. They share how they sold stuff, they share PR tricks, they share their localization tricks, how they saved money, how they got money, even how they got an investor if they did. So it's a great moment to actually learn from the companies in the building. Matchmaking, we actually proactively can matchmake you to companies or other jobs. We have a lot of people asking us, hey, do you know a games company can build this or this? And so we'll push them through. And you get integrated into an international network that's really integrated into our building. Professional support, we have help with legal stuff, accounting, and HR, human resources. There's stuff, all sorts of questions that you can come to. We also we track your progress, so we basically see how much you guys are you making when you come in, and how is that progressing, and how are you guys doing. And we kind of have a mirror for you to look at yourself and see how you're progressing. Coaching and mentorship, we connect people to other people. We do our coaching ourselves, so it's a whole mix depending on what's needed. There's a great network of people that like to support young startups, and they're willing to help, and we connect them to your companies. We also have resources, information that you need. We've put out last year a new FAOF. You know, the FAOF is usually the legal form that most companies start with. The typical FAOF that companies make is usually based on the Kamer van Koophandel, Chamber of Commerce model, which has nothing about IP. There are no agreements about what if somebody leaves the company, who takes the IP. So we've got a whole addendum to add to that. If you're interested in that, if you're thinking about starting a FAOF, which is usually what kind of small companies do, you can also start with an AFA right away, but that means you have money. But if you want to start with a FAOF, we can help you with a few addendums that would be smart to put in case your team falls apart sometime down the road, which I've seen happen in about 3 or 4 instances that have been in our building. 4 founders, 1 or 2 leave. Okay, who owns the IP? And that's a big one. IP, actually, I mean intellectual property. It's actually the game. Say, Luftrazers is the IP. Say, Willem and Rami get into a huge fight. Who owns Luftrazers? That's the big question. That should be in your FAOF. You should have that before the problems start. So that's the kind of thing we do. If you have any more questions about that, you can come up to me or a couple of my colleagues afterwards. We'll be hovering around the hallway, also trying to get some bread, just like some of you. Meanwhile, Dev Club this is a network of students building games. So if you're not part of this, please sign up for this, and you'll be more into the loop of the stuff that we organize, all the e-meetings and events that we do, like this thing today. INDIGO is an event we do annually with the best new games from starters and students. If you have a cool concept, something you're building, have been working on for a couple of months, and you want to show it to the world, send us an email and send us a demo. Global Game Jam, who's ever participated in Global Game Jam? Great, there's still half of you that haven't, you should. Last weekend of January, actually this year it's not the last weekend, but the one before. I think last year 13,000 people annually took place and built a game in 48 hours. It's a great way to get to know other people. It's a great way to mix with people and meet professionals. Professionals and students participate. There's 5 locations in the Netherlands again this year. So check out the website globalgamejam.nl and sign up, because it's a really great way to get started. And I would suggest for questions, it's 10 till, so I will be available for questions right after this. And I hope you have a great lunch. That's it.